What is up, No Face Gang? Max Vangeli here, and we are back with another YouTube video. This time on something really special. We're going to be covering 10 of my most essential tips and tricks in Ableton. As you guys know, I'm an avid Ableton Live user, and this is going to be part one. A lot of these are going to be very common things that you are already using in your production. So maybe it's a reminder, maybe it's a little bit of a new lesson for you or whatnot, but I am going to be basically utilizing the top 10, part one, absolute must-know tips and tricks that I pretty much use in every single production whenever I'm working on the song. By the way, thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. As you guys know, we're trying to rack up those numbers this year on YouTube, so please follow, like, comment. It all matters for the algorithm, of course. And if this video is helpful, of course, I'm super happy that it has been helpful. This is going to be part one out of a series that I will continue doing. So let's dive right in, and I hope you guys enjoy and learn something. Okay guys, the first most important thing that I use is an absolute must is for all my kick drums. I use Impulse. Look it up, drop it in, get your Midis of the kick that are gonna be on the grid, obviously. It basically works like a drum machine. I know a lot of you guys obviously already use it, but the reason why I use it is because, so basically I'm gonna just show you that here. Once you open it up, you can just pick your kick. Obviously a single kick, there you go. So you can drop it in here. So this decay feature right here is the main reason why I like to use Impulse for all my drums, especially the kick drums, because I can control the release of the kick. And I can do the filter as well. The thing is, I see a lot of guys simply dropping kick files like this. And just simply, doing it like that. There's nothing wrong with that. And I see a lot of guys doing that. But the problem is that you really don't have any control as much as you do with the operator. I'm going to erase all of these channels here because I have the kick that I want to use for this particular example. And you see, you can really control the release of the kick, which makes it a lot easier for us to essentially fit the kick into the production. And you can also change the key of the kick. So that is probably the most important thing that I use in all of my productions. I start with Impulse, and then that actually leads to the next really important thing, which is called the spectrum. And if you look up the spectrum, that's going to be my tip number 2, and you're going to drop it on the channel here. This is going to help us with the key of our song. So look what the spectrum is showing. So the root of the kick is a B over here, essentially. So for example, if we want to, so now I know, for example, that how to maneuver. So if I want to put this kick, let's say, into an A instead of a B, then we're gonna have to move it down 2 steps. And the way you know that, obviously, is you just draw a Midi clip right here. If we are on a B right here and we want to go to A, we can go 1, 2 steps, or we can go to C by going up 1 step. So in this case, since we are already in Impulse, it's very easy. Let's bring this down 2 steps. 1, 2, boom. Now we're in A. Do you see at the bottom right corner right here, you're gonna see that we are now in A. So this is the second most important thing that I always use is the spectrum. It's called Spectrum. It's free with Ableton. You don't need to purchase it. You don't need to do anything with it. You just drop it and use it for any sounds to find the key. And again, you always want to look for the lowest note, and that's usually the root in the drums. So it's really, really, really helpful. I absolutely advise you to start using it. Now, the third, probably the most useful thing that I have is the Transiant. You guys have probably seen this a million times, so we're going to take some sort of a drum loop now. I have these samples here to show you for my other examples, but in this case, we're going to take a drum loop. Let's do a little bit more housey. So let's take this loop here and play it with the kick. So what as you can see, there's a lot of things going on. We'd probably want to chop the loop and all of that stuff. But the Transiant, what it does is basically it gates the loop. You probably have seen guys do this. Now, what you got to do is you have to set it on the first setting right here, and you always have to make sure that it's on beat. And then you can pull it back. Listen. So obviously much cleaner than this. So it allows you to clean up loops, maybe take out unnecessary reverbs or tails to make things a bit more snappy. And that's actually kind of like the most important thing of the Transiant, and why you probably see almost every single producer do it. And this is basically how you do it. Super simple. Set it on here. On Transiant, make sure that it's on beats. The next thing I want to show you is the drum racks in Ableton, one of my favorites. So obviously if we take this loop now, and let's say we want to apply parallel compression to it, for example. So we're going to take our favorite glue compressor here. What you want to do with the drum racks, obviously, if we're going to want to do parallel compression, we would have to send this because we want to squeeze this and then match the squash signal with the original. So the easiest way to achieve this using drum rack, which is super simple, you right click, you group, and then you click here. And what you want to do is you want to duplicate this, which basically duplicates the signal flow. And on the first one, you're going to put it 100% wet and then squash it really, really hard. And then on the second one, let's say on the first one, you're going to rename it, or you're going to rename squashed. And on this one, you're going to rename it original signal, right? So on the original signal, you're going to click here and you're going to put it 100% dry, and then this doesn't matter. By the way, this little bonus trick that I should have probably added, but I love Ableton. No matter what setting you do, if you just simply double click on a setting, it goes to the original, so you never have to be like, okay, where's the original? So as you see, I almost had it squashed, double click, boom. So if we mute this and solo this, okay, so if we're gonna solo this, as you can see, nothing is happening. It's just a 100% dry signal because it's 100% dry. Now if we solo this, this is our squashed signal, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put an EQ here so we can control it a bit, because you can add more to the drum rack. You're gonna low cut, and then you're gonna high cut. There you go. Now you're gonna mix it together with the original signal. Maybe lower this volume a bit. And there's your parallel compression using an effects rack without any kind of weird sands and stuff like that. For those of you that don't know parallel compression, it basically thickens up your drums, and it's very, very popular method to kind of fatten up your loops and whatnot. I'm not going to get into that too much. Maybe next time. On to the next tip that we're going to go over, and that is going to be called Complex Pro. So we're going to take a look at our vocals that we have here. All right, some loop that I chose. Okay, so cool loop. Let's say that we want to kind of pitch this loop and mess around with it, you know, have some kind of like Medusa style weirdness to it and all of that kind of fun stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically go here, and instead of complex, because if it's on complex and you start messing with the pitch, look what happens. You know, it's very specific kind of tuning that starts happening there. But if you want to kind of keep the organic kind of pitch more kind of sounding the same as original, what you want to do is you want to go to Complex Pro over here. And then when you pitch this down, let's say 9, listen to what's happening once you start playing with these settings. So obviously sounds a lot more pleasant than when you have it on a complex 12 steps down, right? So this is, I like to call it the Galantis trick, because I'm pretty sure this is what they use a lot on their vocals, is this trick. Like you can create some really cool textures here. If you duplicate this, for example, and you have this playing, and this one. You can really get creative with it. So Complex Pro is definitely a really, really cool trick for vocals. For those of you guys who want to get creative with it, definitely suggest using that. I'm going to set this back to how it was. Now, a very simple but effective trick that a lot of guys don't really use is a reverse. A lot of times in Ableton 11, I think they changed it to a different setting. But let's say you want to do a little reverse pass here on these vocals towards the end. On this part right here. So what you want to do is you just double click, and it's this left right here. You click on it, and then it flips it. So, you know, obviously you can do it here, flip it back. So creates a cool effect. You can do that with drums, any loop. Look, you can just click on it and reverses it. Super, super simple reverse, nice and convenient. I use it all the time. One of the most popular tricks I use it for is the reverse kick. So if you want to go find the kick, let's see if we can find a clean kick. Of course, we have a clean kick somewhere. There you go. Let's drop it here, for example. Let's say that this is the kick that we're using here. So I probably don't want to use it that fat, but let's go here. Reverse, you hear it in Tech House all the time. You reverse the kick now, and it goes in like this. Just turn this on. All right. There you go. So you can just put a little EQ. Super sick. High cut. You hear it in Tech House all the time. Quick reverse, super easy, super convenient. Absolutely love it. The next one I want to talk about is number 7, which is convert harmony to Midi. So important. So let's say, for example, I'm working on this track and I have this piano loop that I found. Now, let's say I know absolutely nothing about harmonies and melodies and don't know how to replicate this, and I want to extract MIDIs from this so I can put another synthesizer with these chords. Because let's say I like these chords, but I don't like the tone of this. So what you want to do is you want to right-click the piano, convert to harmony since it's chords, more notes than one, harmony, melodies, one note. Boom, and there you have it. Now you have your MIDIs, and what you want to do is, so obviously it just gives you some basic synth, but you can put anything, any of your favorite synths that you use. Now, of course, it's not super clean, so what you want to do is you want to go in there and, clean things up a bit, probably right click, quantize, all of that fun stuff. There you go, quantize it, probably put it on the grid, clean this up, all of that. Move it to the left, and then kind of start going one by one in terms of the chords here. Start going one by one in terms of the chords and figuring out what fits and what doesn't. I'm not going to go into details of editing here, but you get the drill. So let's move on to the next one, which is convert melody to MIDI, which is number 8 on my list. In this case, it's really interesting, and I use this all the time. Let's say, for example, you want to extract the melody from this wonderful vocal that we have. So what you want to do is you want to do the same thing. You're going to right click. You're going to right click and you're going to go convert melody to MIDI now. And you're going to open it up. Obviously, it's not going to be precise whatsoever. This note obviously can be probably, tweaked. Or probably taken out. Da-da-da. So basically it gives you a general kind of base of it, so you can clean it up and make it, you can make melodic passes with it once you extract the MIDI. Of course, take a bit of time cleaning this up, figuring out what's up and all of that fun stuff. So that is definitely going to be a big one and an important one. Now, another one that is super key for me, which is number 9, which is absolutely amazing, and I've been using it for years. Let's say we have this MIDI. Let's say we like this. Let's say we absolutely love the sound and we want to start editing it in audio format. What you want to do is, or let's say it gets too heavy because you have a ton of effects and your computer is dying. You're gonna go ahead and right click and freeze. The option that I'm talking about is the freeze option, which is fairly common to most of you guys. You freeze it. What you want to do is you're gonna open up an audio. You're gonna open up another audio channel and you're gonna grab this and you're gonna literally pull it down. Literally pull it down. It's just like that. If you don't want to take the MIDI out, you want to press option down. That way it will keep the MIDI. So just hold option down and pull this down. And all of a sudden, look, your whole thing gets bounced. And there's your loop. Let's say we love this little ending here and we want to just kind of have it on a reverse. We're going to reverse this, the other trick that we have. And there you have it. Now you're going into this piano reversed. Really cool stuff. Absolutely really cool. So freeze is an absolute beast. And last but not least, my absolute favorite is the consolidation, which is super easy to do, super convenient, and it applies to MIDI and audio. So in this case, let's say we messed around with this loop, including this reverse here. And I'm ready to kind of move on. So I'm gonna highlight the whole thing. I'm gonna right click, consolidate, or simply Command J, and all of a sudden it's a one loop, no chops. So I can just copy paste it. And this also applies if I'm like messing around with the pitch here. So it kind of like, let's say if this particular one is pitched up 4, you know, so I want to not forget that. So I'm going to right click again, consolidate, and now there you go, and it applies to it. And you can go command duplicate, all that fun stuff. Those are my top 10 part 1 Ableton Essentials, Ableton 11 to be specific. If you guys found this video useful, don't forget to follow, comment, like. It's all really important to our community of up and coming electronic music producers. If you want to send your demos to us, be sure to send your demos at demos@nofacerecords.com. And if you'd love to join our incredible academy, be sure to check us out at www.nofacerecords.com. I'll see you guys next time.